I'm Denise Genovese, one of the editors at Unquote, and I'm here at IPEM, one of the biggest private equity conferences in Cannes, with Neil MacDougall from Silverfleet. Neil, can I ask you, we've heard so much about valuations being sky high. What, in your opinion, is the driver behind this?
The driver is a very simple thing, it's liquidity. There's a lot of private equity that's been raised over the last couple of years. It has to find a home, it's looking for good businesses, and there is a finite supply of good businesses. If you look at the number of transactions that are done, it doesn't increase. So what does increase is the value. And we're seeing that in most markets. It's fairly universal.
Yeah. Can it and will it continue, in your opinion?
For the short term, possibly even the medium term, it will. And it's not just me speculating. There was the Bain and Company guys did a report probably 2 years ago now, and as a former Bainey, I read that, and it just identified the amount of money that was going into private equity as an asset class, and there's no reason that that's going to stop. You've also got what they call the shadow capital sort of a sector, and that's adding even further liquidity. So there's a lot of demand from a lot of people for good businesses, and there's no sign that that's going to stop anytime soon.
And with the question mark over so much of Europe at the moment, what are your main concerns as a European private equity house as we enter 2019?
Well, the concerns vary. So it depends which country you're talking about. So I suppose start with the big one, Germany, the one that matters most. So the Germans export a huge amount of their GDP, and any slowdown in China, and the Germans feel it first. Unfortunately, what we're picking up is that the threat of tariffs from the United States has meant that Chinese sentiment is a lot weaker this year than it has been for many years, and lots of purchases are being postponed. And I think you're starting to see that being reflected, unfortunately, in German economic outlook. I think there's a slight own goal there. Dieselgate, I think, is also slowing up the sale of cars. There are lots of cars waiting to be tested under the new WLTP protocols, and that's slowed down the German economy. So that is worrying. If China and the US don't come to terms over their tariffs, you will see it reflected, first of all, in Germany. And I saw a CFO of a large company that is a bellwether of European economic activity yesterday, and he confirms that this is actually happening. Closer to home, La France, the Gilets jaunes, I'm afraid they do have an impact on everyday life. It's not just in the news, it affects people going into the city centres, it affects them buying your products. We have a retail company here, we see it in our weekly numbers, so that is a concern. How long that goes for, how serious it gets, is something we're watching carefully. And of course, bien sûr, Brexit. Who knows when, how, it's the issue is more about uncertainty. And people can't plan, they can't make confident decisions when they don't know what's around the corner. So I hope the politicians manage to sort that out. Elsewhere, I think, for us, we're seeing actually generally good news. Holland, Denmark, very strong actually, relatively. Finland coming back. The Swedes, I think, digesting falling house prices, but overall not bad. So there are sort of good bits as well, but I think the three I mentioned at the beginning, those are the big economies that we're watching carefully.
Great. So Europe, in conclusion, lots of question marks, but not such a bad place to be in as an investor compared to some other sort of geographies?
Well, I think 2019 is likely to be softer in terms of economic performance, and that's going to cause a few difficulties we haven't had for a couple of years. Valuations, as mentioned earlier, are a bit higher than we'd like, but based on what I hear, there are problems that are every bit as big in Asia and in the US. So as a European investor, I'd say keep putting your money in Europe. There's a lot of good stuff happening here too.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Neil.
Okay, my pleasure, Denise.